Disclaimer. The opinions expressed in this show are unfiltered and unrehearsed. Statements conveyed are personal and issued to the best of the ability and knowledge of the cast. They should not be taken as conclusive facts. Does This Offend You is not responsible for any mental, physical, or emotional damage sustained by its listeners. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to another episode of Does This Offend You? Today we talk about Kanye hating the Jews, cancel culture, great artists who are also great garbage people, and we ask what you are willing to sacrifice for your morals. And guess what? You're probably more of a douchebag than you realize. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.
What do I have to say to make some money? What do I have to say to make some money? No offense.
There you go. All good? Recording?
Yep. I think so.
Right on. Cool. How was your weekend, boys?
It's good.
Yeah.
I'm kind of confused, fellas.
Why? What's going on?
Well, as you know, Kanye had some fruitful things to say about the Jews. And also, there's a revolution going on in Iran. And I'm not someone who posts on social media, but I'm just like, do I have to, consider posting something? And which one do I choose, man? It's so many options here at this point. Also, the continuing war against mankind and masculinity and Andrew Tate. Just so much to post about. I'm better off just posting nothing, right?
I like how you read my mind about the Kanye thing. I was going to ask about it to see what your thoughts were.
I live under a rock. Can someone explain the story to me?
So basically, Kanye came out on multiple podcasts, talk shows,
Twitter.
live TV, Twitter, and he's basically just talking about, he basically outlines everything the Jews do to get ahead in life, and how he literally said these words, how envious he is of all their success and all this stuff. And then one of the more sore spots was where he went on to this British guy's, it was a
Piers Morgan.
Piers Morgan, there you go. And he basically said that Jews raped his people, black folk, which I'm like, okay, maybe it's a little bit more sensitive talk, but for the most part, everything that he said, I'm like, what did he say wrong? It sounds like the guy just fucking wishing that he was a Jew himself to some extent with everything that he said.
He actually claimed he was a Jew.
Oh, did he? Okay.
And the original tweet that started it all, he was like, I'm going DEFCON 3. Yes, DEFCON 3 on the Jewish people. He's like, but I can't be an anti-Semite because I'm a Jew too, or I'm a real Jew or some shit like that. So a lot of layers in there of black Israelite bullshit, and just the fact that I can't be racist because I pretty much identify as a Jew now. That's almost like me saying, I guess I get an N-word pass now, right? Is that how that works? He can say something I think the main crux of the issue with what Kanye is doing is, one, he's very influential, and two, he's pretty much spouting anti-Semitic rhetoric that was used to persecute Jewish people in countries where they committed things like, I don't know, genocides. And he just won't take anything back. He just keeps double downing. And now the bigger issue is how you have people in Los Angeles putting banners over the 405 highway, basically saying that Kanye is completely right. So I personally see Kanye as someone who probably has some crazy bipolar disease and is seriously craving attention. He's probably trying to drop a new clothing product or a new album at some point, but he's just going batshit crazy. It's not okay, but I just don't care. I more appreciate how the real anti-Semites are kind of popping up out of the shadows, and I'm like, this is a great opportunity to take those motherfuckers out, honestly. But also, yeah, Kanye, I feel is pushing boundaries. He also said I can say all the anti-Semitic shit I want, and Adidas won't cancel me because they can't cancel me. And I was like, man, he's actually calling out the media to do something about him and his rhetoric.
In an odd way, I actually respect the guy more for doing what he's doing. Because, I'm not going to sit here and say that racism and anti-Semitism is okay. But number one, the sticky ground here is that you can adhere to Jewish faith without being a Jew, right? You can actually practice Judaism. Is that what he's saying, or is he actually saying that his bloodline, he's Jewish?
Do you know what the Black Israelites are?
I really don't. Enlighten me. Like, yeah, let's make
Vlad?
this as efficient as possible.
They're basically a group of you ever remember the West Baptist Church back in the day? The ones who used to like stand around and yell at people at like basically funerals saying your son's a fag, he's gonna go to hell, or your son's a murderer, this and that. Anyway, even the troops. Black Israelites are the equivalent of West Baptist Church. They are a small minority of mainly composed of black people who identify as Jewish, Hebrews, whatever, and they believe that black people are the true Jewish race, and that everybody else is not Jewish, and they take a lot of the scripture and take it a lot more like extremist style than what it should be, and they're very controversial.
Oh, don't forget that they also claim that the Jews that we know today, especially the white Jews, stole Judaism and I guess the chosen people description from black people.
Okay, so great.
Yeah, Kendrick Lamar and his crew are all I believe they're all Black Israelites. I don't know about Schoolboy Q, but Absol and Kendrick definitely talk about it. And it makes me uncomfortable, but their music is still pretty good, so I just don't care.
Yeah, so that brings me to my second point in the fact that Kanye is being super bold and saying that like he won't get canceled. And you know what? I actually want. I believe the guy. We touched base on this in a previous episode where we talked about football players who do like terrible things off the field, but then teams will still draft them. And I think this is the same principle. Like Kanye's fame and his money draw is too big for anyone to ignore. Like, yeah, Adidas can go ahead and say, well, we don't support anti-Semitism, so we're not endorsing Kanye anymore. And then like 5 minutes later, Nike will pick him up or something like that. Like after this all blows over and he releases his like 10th #1 hit album or something. Like that's just how it goes, dude. People will find the line to make an excuse for guys like this. Like he's just too big and too popular, too powerful for any of this to matter. And that's the sad truth behind it. Like, you can be as big a piece of shit as you want as long as you draw money and are popular with the children these days, then fine, go ahead. Say what you want. There's really not a whole lot of backlash. I don't know. There's no real repercussions, I guess is what I'm saying. That's the reality.
I'm personally just okay with separating the talent from the artist, you know? Like, just because Kanye is being a dipshit right now doesn't mean that his music sucks all of a sudden. It's kind of like when some other shit was going on with Israel, Palestine, and Ben and Jerry decided to stop selling in countries that are in apartheid or some shit. I don't know how they word it, but basically they stopped distributing in Israel. And then like all these Jewish organizations, well, they stopped it on the West Bank, but it was kind of weird because almost like they were punishing Palestinians. I don't know. I don't give a shit. Either way, a lot of Jewish people were upset about it, being like, oh yeah, Ben and Jerry is anti-Semitic even though they're Jews and they're bad Jews. And Australia kosher decided that they were gonna not allow Ben and Jerry to be considered kosher anymore. And I was just like, shit, dude, this is like really good ice cream and now it's on sale. I mean, my morals aren't that expensive. It's almost like if I decided to boycott Ben and Jerry's, I can't talk shit about the LGBT community wanting to boycott Chick-fil-A because of their stance on LGBT rights. And I'm just like, I mean, it's still a good fucking sandwich. It's not my favorite one, but like, fuck, like I don't care. They can do what they want with their money. Just keep making a good product at a decent price, and I'm happy and fed.
My whole thing is like with at least Kanye is just hearing what he said. I don't particularly, I guess with what I will share with him is I don't really care too much. He just sounds like he's just jealous, and that to me is like fine, whatever. If he is quote unquote actually a Jew, cool. This seems more like an opportunity to kind of reach out to the guy and kind of bridge the whole entire divide and maybe be like, hey, do you actually want to learn something rather than just spew dumb bullshit? But for the most part, like I said, it just sounds like he's just fucking jealous and bitching about it. So to me, it's kind of like haters are gonna hate.
It sounds to me like he just got a bad business deal. Because I'll be honest, the first time I heard Kanye say his shit, I was like, I don't 100% disagree with you, except for you claiming to be a
Yeah.
Jew, because he's not. But I'm just kind of like, I have also dealt with Jewish people that are very sketchy and like assholes when it
Yeah.
comes to business. And I'm just like, you're kind of the reason people don't like us. And again,
Yeah.
like I'm part of like Facebook groups that are like severely like they're pretty much alt-right anti like or they're not neo-Nazis or whatever. And I like that page because they have some like really dope memes. But sometimes I see their shit and I'm like, this is really uncomfortable. And then the comments get even worse. And I'm like, I kind of get it. Like, I don't empathize with them, but I kind of understand their frustration. And I think the majority of the frustration is coming from a place of coveting.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, but I will. Like I said, I'm just saying. I think this is a bit more of a. It's a far shot for me to be like he's completely wrong. He's not. Like I said, some of the things he says they are, well, they're true, you know. And Jews are still human. There's good. There's bad. You're gonna meet all sorts of people, walks of life, regardless of their religion and nationality or ethnicity. Um, but for me, like I said, he sounds like he's just kind of jealous of our quote unquote success. So for me, more or less of I'd say, hey dude, get your money up, do better. I don't know what to tell you. If you want to become an actual Jew and be recognized, go convert. And maybe, like I said, this might be an opportunity to step in and maybe bridge that divide where he's kind of exploiting it. But my question would be next would be what divides Kanye from somebody like Louis Farrakhan, or however you pronounce his name, the Islam Brotherhood of Islam member who is very controversial and is known to be one of the most anti-Semitic people in the world.
Well, to start off, this is a type of man where he decided to double down on being an anti-Semite and calling himself anti-termite. So I think he actually does look down on Jewish people and does kind of create kind of an uproar and an uprising against them to take them down. And I didn't see any like call to action from Kanye to fight and take out the Jews, and I think that's the bigger difference here.
Okay, that's fair.
Um.
That's fair.
So I don't really know who that is. Again, I think I'm out of my element here, boys. This for once. I actually have no idea what half this shit is because crazy
Yeah, you
thought.
hang out with so many fucking Jews. Why the fuck do you not know anything? God.
Because here's the weird part. I'm not actually like a racist piece of shit. I take you at face value as my friend. I don't ask you things about Judaism because I simply don't care. It has nothing to do with your character. Or maybe it does, and it leaks through in certain facets of your character, but I never question it. And I'm just saying that's the way it should be. But I digress. I'm not talking about my self-righteous ideals. But I was gonna take down this. There's so many things I could talk about based on what you guys just said. But I will take it. Let me just start. Number one was back to my original question too. So if Kanye West, the black man, says he is Jewish, the avenue to that is actually practicing the faith of Judaism. Does that count?
No,
Okay.
No.
Okay.
you have to be accepted into the religion to be a part of it. It's not like Islam or Christianity where you just walk in and be like, I am a Christian! And you're done. Like you're automatically going to heaven or whatever bullshit they believe in. When it comes to Judaism, there's actually like a filtration process. So not everybody can just hop right in unless you can prove that you were born into it. Or like a lot of people in Africa are like, I think there's Ethiopian tribes that believe that they're one of the lost communities and they're trying to prove it while a bunch of racist Israelis are trying to be like, no, you're not. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. You ain't Jews. Um, but yeah, so when it comes to Judaism, it also depends on like who you ask. So if you want to be considered Jewish by everybody, you have to be like converted through the like highest authority, the most religious people, and then that's kind of the most accepted one. But if you want to go like to the lower tiers where it's a lot easier, like if you want to go to Reform Judaism, which is practically Jews for Jesus, you can go to them and they'll like make it super easy. They'll be like, all right, well, just sign these papers and we'll make you a Jew. But that won't be accepted by the higher communities or the not higher, but more religious communities.
Okay, so let's say Kanye went through those hurdles and he did all the things you're supposed to do, and
It would take years.
and he was
It
accepted.
would take years.
Okay,
It would take years.
I'm not at. Just say he does it, please, for argument's sake. He does it. He jumps through. He started back like 15 years ago, or whatever, before he got famous. I have no idea. And he gets that pass. Is he allowed to go spew this shit then?
No, he's not.
Okay.
But I mean, because the thing is, there are sects of Jews, like highly religious, like Hasidic Jews, that even don't believe that the Jewish people should be occupying Israel right now, and they even work hand in hand with like these terrorist leaders to help them remove Jewish people from the land of Israel, because it's like, you know, you don't have two Jews, you have three opinions. They're one of those Jews that has like one of these opinions that says that like we don't, based on the text, we don't believe that the Jewish people should be in Israel yet. We should wait
until the Messiah shows up.
Yes. So they think that we're fucking up and they want to remove, but so it's not from a malicious place. But what I will say is there's also a lot of Jewish people that, you know, everybody has a different opinion on different things. There's a lot of self-hating Jews. There's a lot of actual racist Jews or people that don't want to be part of the team, whatever, and they want to spew some shit. They're more than likelihood. Again, like, I'm not the one canceling Kanye. I'm just waiting for the court of public opinion to take care of him, and if he's right and he still is making millions and millions of dollars, good for you, bro. Like, you called out everybody and you proved that you're immune to cancellation. But if he gets canceled, I'm not gonna be like, oh no, Kanye. I'll be like, yeah, he had that coming. Like, he literally asked for it. You know?
Yeah. Okay, so that brings me to my next point. My follow-up is that I think Kanye is a perfect representation of, I think that something has been going on for a long time. Like, cancel culture is popular now, but it's not permanent. And it's not actually real to begin with, I think. Like, the concept behind cancel culture is like, when someone says something or does something that's offensive to like a certain group of people, then a company or a multitude of companies or someone's PR representation has to do something to like appease these people, and I think that's the extent of it. But once all that's taken care of, these very same people can just go off and still be garbage people if that's really what they are. If you're taking what they're saying with deep context, it could just be like some other rambling. Kanye West can just say something. I know Kanye West has been rambling for years. Why are people shocked about this? This is like my first question. But I'm not gonna get really deep into that. What I will say is that, like, you guys remember Chris Brown? He's still relevant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was he popular for besides his music?
Hitting Rihanna.
Exactly. But people still listen to him, and his concert tickets are selling for $150 a pop. And he just played.
He's a very good dancer.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And he's sexy, so women find that appealing. You know how many fucking people I heard when that came out, that he beat Rihanna? You know how many women came out and were like, please beat me? Like, the very same people who would ostracize somebody on Twitter for saying, I love to beat women, but cancel that man. But those very same people are the ones who are like, God, I wish Chris Brown would beat me, because he's hot and popular enough and makes good music where it's fine. That's the line. That's the compromise of morality we're talking about here, which we have talked about before. So I feel like cancel culture is really just all this is appease a certain amount of people, whether or not something is actually truly in demand to be canceled. Like it's literally like needs to be canceled because it's going to cause some actual damage to people. I don't think that line's actually ever been crossed in history. Like I'll give you a perfect example. Like maybe now here's something more in my world, attuned to my world. I listen to a lot of heavy metal and rock music. That's a very popular band called As They Lay Dying. Now, for those of you who don't know out there, the lead singer of that band, As They Lay Dying, Tim Lambesis, he put out a hit on his wife, and he's a devout Catholic. He's and it comes through in their music sometimes. It's not the reason I listen to it, but just putting that out there. So it kind of makes this action a little more reprehensible. He's put out a hit on his wife. He got caught, and he went to prison for 5 years. And, there's a lot of people like, this is disgusting. The band themselves, disgusting, abhorrent act. We don't stand behind him. 5 years later, comes back to the band. They come out with a single together because they realized they weren't making a lot of money not being in As They Lay Dying. There wasn't any money or popularity, and the music just wasn't that good when he wasn't in the band. That's simply how it was. So if something like that can be forgiven for the artistry and for the product, I don't know if any point in human history that line has actually been crossed, where someone actually has literally been canceled to hell, where they cannot come back because like whatever they've done has ruined something else they've done, minus the act. Like they're popular for music, something they did, their whole career is ruined. I like, does anyone actually think of an instance where that's true? They could not come back for something they've done.
The thing is, I think people always end up realizing that talent is a lot harder to come by relative to morality.
Right.
So even if you cancel these people, regardless, not only do they still have a fan base, but they also probably have said something that they're not alone in thinking, or they did something that not everybody finds reprehensible, so they continue doing what they're doing and they eventually come back. Like Louis C.K., probably one of the best comedians out there right now. He suffered through cancel culture a lot, but I think Louis C.K. and Dave Chappelle and a bunch of these comedians, they decided that they weren't going to let cancel culture destroy them anymore, so they became very independent. They practically call out the culture, and I like to think of it as I think comedians are building an immunity to cancel culture now, because they're just like, it's literally our job to say and do these things. If you don't like us, don't listen to us. But our fan base is our fan base, and they are the ones that we care to please, not you idiots that have never even paid for a ticket to come to one of our shows. So like, again, they're just proving that you don't have, that you don't have to appeal to everybody. You just have to appeal to your audience. I mean, look at Mel Gibson. For the longest time, he was canceled for the same shit that Kanye is doing, and he was drunk at the time. But now he's making a return. Why? Because one, he's not a bad actor. Like, I remember watching his movies, and, I always thought he was great. But Passion of the Christ touched a lot of people, and he still had a significant fan base. So, of course, he came back.
Yeah.
It's just another great example is the Roger Waters, the lead singer of Pink Floyd, who is labeled a Russian sympathizer and anti-Semitic because he writes personal letters to Putin, which Putin apparently responds to, but he also writes personal letters to Zelensky, and he starts spreading this gospel about how Putin is willing to have peace and Zelensky is the one that wants to continue the war. And it's one of those things where I don't know much, but I listened to his Rogan episode because I heard he was anti-Semitic, and a lot of people were like, oh, he's anti-Semitic, this episode is bad. And I was like, fuck it, I'll listen. First of all the complaints about the episode, all lies. Jewish people also like to embellish, and they claim that it's a 2-hour long episode of him just talking and Joe Rogan listening and not fighting back to his anti-Semitic claims. It was like 20 minutes, and then towards the end they had another 20 minutes about Israel. So for all you haters, listen to the fucking episode before you comment or put something on social media, because idiots. But I will say that when I listened to this man speak, he seemed very reasonable. He seemed very rational. I heard about the shit he did with having concerts where he'll have a pig come on stage, where he painted the Star of David on that pig, and it was like disrespect towards Israel. But then he makes comments about how, oh, it's not my fault that the Israeli flag is the symbol for Judaism. It just happened to be that way. And I was like, okay, fine. The one point though, and this is my point to letting crazy people speak their mind, the one point that I listened in that interview and I was like, I went from he has a point to this man's a fucking kook, is when Joe Rogan asked him, so what is the counter argument to everything you're saying? Like, what do people who criticize you say? And the man said, they don't have an argument. They have nothing to say. They can't. And I was like, this man literally has never had a conversation with anybody on the other side. He's just a fucking crazy man trying to, appease a certain population of people. And that's the beauty of letting people talk. Again, it's not that Joe Rogan had the counterpoints, and I'm glad Joe Rogan didn't know enough and he didn't try to fight it and look like an idiot and made Roger Waters look like an intellectual. But at the end of the day, like, Roger Waters spoke his piece, and I guarantee you somebody like Ben Shapiro, if he wanted to, would go on Joe Rogan's show and give the whole spiel about why this man's a kook. And I'll be more happy with that if you had an expert come on and be like, let me defend my country now. Um,
So, Dan, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say a lot of things, but just go ahead. You haven't talked in a while.
So I wanted to say one thing is like Jewish people, same as every other person, every other group of people on this planet, have very particular manner where they like to speak out on certain things and not others. Anybody who really knows me knows I'm not a very religious Jew. I don't care for it. I'm actually quite against religion in some ways, and I like to make fun of Jews as much as I possibly can. Some people I'm anti-Semitic, whatever. I know they say the best anti-Semite is a Jew. I believe that. But what I will say is Jews, yeah, they have a very particular fashion of trying to rationalize their their feeling of being offended by certain things, and sometimes it's just like, Jesus Christ, guys, use some form of logic when you make an argument. I've mentioned this topic before, particularly the Ukraine-Russia war, and I've said that with me, speaking from a perspective of an actual like logical Jew, I say I hope both of those countries absolutely surely burn in hell with all their kin. Why? Because historically both of these countries have absolutely ravaged and destroyed the Jewish populace living there. Ukraine, who was known as the most anti-Semitic country in the Soviet Union, in one day managed to slaughter 30,000 Jews. Easy. And when I have Ukrainian Jews who sit here and fucking boast about how we need to back up Ukraine and how Russia's a piece of shit, I'm like, granted, Russia is a piece of shit, no questions asked. I'm like, why the fuck do you care about Ukraine? If it was up to the nationalists of that country, you'd be dead. Why do you care? I don't care if you're from there, move on. Jews do that with a whole lot of different stuff. They've done that with, well, you've mentioned Pink Floyd. The reason why that whole entire pig with the Star of David thing was offensive was one, because obviously the Star of David is the recognized symbol of the Jewish people. Two, the pig thing also was offensive because a lot of people refer to Jews as pigs. I think even like I've heard the story. I'm not sure how true it is, but like at one point, you guys all know the singer Shakira. There was a whole story going around before that she had an interview and I guess spoken to by somebody about Jews for whatever reason, and her response was, "I'd rather sleep with a pig before I sleep with a Jew." Again, I'm not sure how much of a true story this is, but this is what circulated beforehand. But going back to the original point, Jews tend to have very like loud response to a whole lot of things, and let's be honest here, Jews have their hands in a whole lot of things, as Kanye commented. Hollywood was essentially built on the back of Jewish businessmen, and hasn't exactly turned out to be the brightest point in our experience because of all the scandals that exist behind it. Jews also have a very deep hand in crediting, where we've set up a lot of credit unions around the world and banks, and anybody who really follows the money knows that there's a lot of shady business that goes on in that. But this doesn't mean that I'm saying that Jews are bad. This is me saying that Jews are human and we have good and bad people. We just have a very big tendency where we like to, same as every other nationality and group of people in the world, we like to bark. What bothers me about it is that we only bark for certain things. I'm very briefly to touch on the whole entire like Arab Jewish situation in the Middle East. I tell people, I'm like, yeah, I believe that Israel should exist. Jews should have the access to the Holy Land as before. But I also very openly claim that I don't like how Jews in Israel treat the Arab populace that are there. Sometimes it's justified, sometimes it's absolutely not. And a lot of people may or may not like it, but that's how I feel about it. You can call me anti-Semitic, you can call me whatever. I've had a family friend who called me anti-Semitic because because this was like ages ago when I was still way younger, and when I asked was like, his son asked me if I'm an American, and I'm like, technically I'm Russian. And the kid went to his dad and told him, and the dad came back saying, "How can you call yourself a Russian? What are you, an anti-Semite?" And I was like, "No, but I'm from there, and I have Russian blood. Like, my dad is Russian, technically. My grandmother on my mom's my dad's mother was connected to the Romanovs. She's literally as Russian as you get. So, sorry. I'm not trying to be anti-Semite, but yeah. Point is that Jews have a very particular way where they like to outline certain things they will go blood and fist into, and then some things where they're like, they want to play the victim card. And or they want to be, or the third option is they're very passive because they feel like it doesn't affect them. Or they can just erase their history because something else of priority seems to be more appealing to them at this point. Which, again, that's what bothers me. But, yeah, I digress.
Okay. Yeah. It's not to say that, like, I know every culture and every race has some sort of stereotype, and I'll be the first one to say that, like, I understand where a lot of those stereotypes come from. Is it a blanket statement for every race or religion or nationality? Absolutely not. But you have to wonder why the stories exist. And can they be backed up? Your comments exactly. Like, are Jews really that way? I don't know. You're right. Maybe some of them are. Maybe some of them give the rest, the others, a bad name, like the one bad apple.
Steve.
Yeah, exactly. My point exactly. I can say the same thing about Arabs. Like, per capita, if I were to break down every race that suicide bombs people, Arabs really hold the at the top of that list. I can't say otherwise. I mean, if someone walked in here, if the Jew next door walked in this room and said, "What's up, you fucking suicide bomber?" I'd be like, "Well, 9 times out of 10, he might be correct because of my ethnicity, my background." Like, I can't deny that. But I can't, you can't just go around. I think when you start blanketing like an entire culture, you start just going after everybody. I think that's the dangerous part. Which brings, I'm not going really deep into what Vlad was talking about, because now I start to sound really crazy. But what I will say is, going back to what Omid said, shout out to the Roger Waters reference. Pink Floyd is fucking amazing. And a lot of it is a mind trip. Like, anyone who's listening to their stuff back in the day, on a drug or not, will tell you it's a lot of really, it's like intellectual artistry, their music. It's like a lot of introspection. You get lost in it. You think a lot. Why did they do this? What was, like, this is a weird sound. Why was this included in the song? Everything they did and Pink Floyd's ever done was deliberate, and it was provocative. And I think that's with every generation of someone who's brilliant. And I'm not a personal fan of Kanye. I've listened to a few of his songs, and some of them I'm like, this is cool. Some of them are like, well, it's just kind of like bland hip hop to me. That's just how I feel about it. But I won't deny in saying that Kanye is a generational talent, and that's the hard part for people to accept. When someone like that, you can't separate the person. You can't split them into two different people, saying that one guy's an artist who's awesome and his music's amazing, and the other guy's a piece of shit who hates Jews. Because they're one and the very same. And a lot of that thought process comes from the same mind that produces that brilliant music. So what I will say about Roger Waters and Kanye West is that these people who are often criticized for, like, I did write this down while you were talking, so I'm going to read exactly what I wrote down, which is that, like, a lot of brilliant people are criticized as much as they're celebrated. But you can't separate the insanity from the brilliance, because both of those things are equally provocative. It's just, how much are we willing to accept at any given time? Because, like anything, like any art, or any time someone says something that's like sounds crazy at the time, hindsight's 2020. Maybe the world just isn't ready to hear what Kanye has to say, or maybe the world just isn't ready to listen to Kanye's music. We accepted one of those things now. That's great, but it could have easily gone the other direction. So, maybe in like 20 years, people look back. I'm talking to you, liberals and progressives. Since that seems to be the trend, like you got to look at, like, things are like, you got to think differently and think outside the box and be better. Maybe in 20 years you're gonna look back and say, well, maybe Kanye was goddamn right about everything he said, even though it sounded fucking racist and anti-Semitic at the time. Maybe he was right. Maybe you'll say that to yourselves later in the future. I'm just saying it's a very real possibility, because these people have existed throughout time.
I will say with 100% certainty, nothing he said was right.
Okay.
There's nothing he said that was right, and I think you should listen to what he says before you make that claim, Danny.
No, I'm
listen to it, read it. No, because when you say a statement like that, you're almost advocating for him to talk like that. And the problem is, what he said was massively misguided. And again, I'm not saying that I'm someone who's upset with him, because I actually did read everything. But I want you to read and listen to what he said, because he didn't say anything that wasn't harmless. Everything that he said was kind of offhanded and incredibly misguided, and it was very, very intentional on his part. Either that was, I mean, it could intentional, or a result of some crazy psychosis or bipolar episode that he might be having. But be careful with what you're saying right now. If you're gonna say Kanye, it's like we're gonna look back and see what he said was like good or something like that.
I'm not saying Kanye specifically, but I'm saying there are people have existed through time like Kanye who at the time were like, why, this is terrible. How could you say such a thing? Or this is like, no one should say this or think like this. And then later on, people are like, wow, okay. Then they admire them for their genius. But no, I don't know what Kanye said. I can't sit here and tell you exactly everything he said. Yeah, and for the most part, he could be right. Could be crazy. But we have to accept the fact that maybe later on in life, some of the things that some crazy person said 50 years ago, now we're just like, oh yeah, that actually was right.
Well, let's take a look at it like this. What Kanye or some of these people are doing are criticizing an entire group of people and generalizing very heavily, which again is not very good. Now, if we're gonna talk about someone like Galileo, who made the claim that the Earth is round, or no, the Earth is not the center of the universe and it's actually the sun, and he was actually like hung for it, and then we look back and we're like, oh shit, like dude was right. I think there's a huge difference there, because there's actual like proof that what somebody said was factually wrong, versus, yo, I'm just gonna stand here and say I think we all need to be mad at the Jewish people together. Like, let's all get angry with me because I am upset about something, and then to continue saying it. So I think there's a massive difference. Or like, what is it? There's another saying that like the difference between a conspiracy theory and reality is like 6 months. And that's like practically an ode to someone like Joe Rogan's podcast, where he has these people come on where they say things that sound like conspiracy theory, or they just go against the grain of what's common knowledge. And then a few months later, they end up being true. But no one on that show is coming on and saying, you know what? All Arabs are terrorists, and I think we should just remove them all from the planet and we'll fix the terrorism problem. Now we're looking at someone being like, hey, all you Jews, like every single Jew is my competition because y'all succeed. Like, he's like, I'm jealous that Jewish people don't abort their babies all the time or some shit like that.
And that the father's always around, that they are very close. I like I said, for me, his whole thing just sounds like he's just jealous, and that's not a bad thing. That's a compliment.
Yeah,
that
he's
coveting
the people. He's coveting the people, but instead of criticizing or complimenting like the origins or the reasons for those things, he's out here just talking out of jealousy. Why? And he has been on the news saying, why aren't more black fathers staying in the home? Why are we talking about Black Lives Matter when black people are killing more black people than any other like white person is? Why are we saying all these things? Like, he did have a time where he was actually advocating or against Black Lives Matter, but also spitting just pure facts or whatever he learned.
Is.
Yeah, he still is, but now he's like talking from a place of jealousy, and I think that's where the dangerous part is, because he's awakening all of these racists, which I'm actually happy for. I want these racists to come out. I wish that every anti-Semite just had a swastika or something tattooed on them, so I can be like, all right, cool. I know I don't fuck with you right off the bat, versus all the bullshit we deal with in the Bay Area where someone is like very anti-Semitic, but not even they probably realize it, or because they like, I don't know, they're just trying to be tolerant of people, but in reality they're just super biased and anti-Semitic, and I'm just like, why are you being an asshole or some shit? Like, it just catches you off guard more, even though sometimes you get a sense for it. I'd rather just know right off the bat, so I just don't even waste my time or effort with these people.
So you want to tag them? You want to label these people?
Yeah, let's put like a yellow star on them that says Jude or some shit.
Or why don't
but
you
no,
just put,
like, I don't.
Even better, just put a marker on their arm, like a number, like a serial number.
Why not just put a mustache on all of them? That's like a little square one, and say like it's a reminder's like Hitler on it or something.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, like that's a lot easier, because back in the day, that was just they shaved their heads, right? That's how we knew before. Your skin. But no, like genuinely though, like if people are anti-Semitic, I'd rather just know right off the bat. It's my like I know people are like, oh no, you should hide that stuff. No, don't fucking hide it. I want to know who hates me already without me having to do anything, so I don't waste my time or effort, or I don't have to be friendly with these people, because being friendly is a lot of work, guys. It's not easy.
Yeah, we talked about that right here. Also, I forgot to do another shameless plug, which is like really big when it comes to listening to any sort of thought-provoking, critical thinking like podcast, or really anything like that in general. If it's music or TV or whatever, please actually digest the entire thing first before you can make a comment about it. Only touch base on that because was it episode 6 where we talked about the concept of offense? I know a lot of people saw like a 30-second to 1-minute clip about what we were talking about, and then bypass the other hour and 19 minutes. And that's it. They made up their minds about us instantly. So really do yourselves a favor as a community. Just actually like try to get everything you can out of the material you're digesting and consuming. And then think after, and then make your comments after that. And yeah, anyway, I digress, but that's cool. You can watch the episode right here and you can hate us after you're done watching the entirety of that episode. But we will take a break right now and come back with more of Does This Offend You right after this. Stay tuned. Does This Offend You is absolutely, definitely, and undoubtedly brought to you by this 100% totally real sponsor.
Hey there, Does the Offend You community. I'm Omid. I don't know if you know me, but today's advertisement or episode is brought to you by this cribbage board. I own it, and I have all the pieces for it, I swear. I just have nobody to play with. And I brought it to every school I attended and asked around, like, hey, white person, do you know how to play cribbage? You want to play with me? And they were just like, no, I don't know how to play, or they don't want to play with me. And it's kind of a lonely life, but it's a game that is, guaranteed to be like, 15 minutes of pure fun. And I would like some friends to play with. I've only played with like maybe 5 people in my life. And I just feel like learning how to play this game has been a waste of time for me. Please don't make me regret another thing in my life and play cribbage with me.
Great ad.
Danny will play with you.
Please get this man some friends. Not me though, not Vlad. I don't want to play that game. What is it? Can you explain the concept of this game?
It's a card game.
Okay.
And it comes with these pegs, and the point is like you can either play by yourself, like individually up to 3 people, or you can play 4 people, and you do teams, and you basically the more points you get, the more you go higher on this board. And you just move the pegs up to the top.
Omid, I just came up with a great idea. If you want to make a lot of money really fast, make a version of Cards Against Humanity with anti-Semitic tropes on it. It'll sell.
Pretty sure it's already on there.
Have you heard of the game Secret Hitler?
Oh my god, no.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
It's created by the people who created Cards Against Humanity, and it's pretty much that game Mafia, except you're looking for people that are Nazis. And I'm pretty sure Cards Against Humanity already has an expansion, or they have enough expansions to cover any anti-Semitic joke that's around.
Damn it.
Very cool. Okay. Well, bringing it back to what we were talking about. So, on the like the same train of thought as we're talking about, like people who kind of talk and ramble and say crazy shit, but somehow are good at what they do, and we respect them for that. So here's a polarizing figure that you think would escape the news, but just doesn't. Donald Trump. So I don't have to sit here and explain to you all the crazy shit Donald Trump has ever said, pre or post presidency, or in the middle of his presidency, no less. But you know what I do respect Donald Trump for? Is actually like try to pay artists for their music, because in the middle of all the crazy shit he did, which I think is ridiculous and just confounding, he's just this terrible fucking person. I could sit here and tell you I don't like him. He's a stupid person, but his business sense is not too bad. So like in the middle of his presidency, he signed a law that like basically guaranteed people on Spotify aren't being paid pennies for people who listen to their music. So Spotify isn't just like taking artists, having them be the foundation of their service, and then raping them for every dime they have. So I respect that. Which brings me to my next thought, which is like, if you could erase somebody from history, like, let me ask you this. If somebody contributed something that you use all the time and they did something freaking god awful, would you stop utilizing what they've made for you, whether it be music or a product? I don't know.
Depends how bad.
Okay. So I posed this question to my friends a few months ago, and it's been sitting on me for a while, and I'm glad I had the stage to ask people out there, and you guys specifically. So smartphones, right? Everybody uses them every single day. Vlad's on it right now. He's not paying attention to this podcast. He's playing around on a stupid smartphone. Thanks for being here, Vlad.
Like my dick.
Yeah. So my point exactly. If news broke out tomorrow that Steve Jobs, or I don't know, if you're like not an iPhone fan, like the other competition, the Samsung or Android, like people at Google, if you found out both of them had this conglomerate, they just got together on weekends, Steve Jobs and the people who own Google, and they just like raped and tortured little girls and like had their fun with them, and they're just discussing just hideous acts, and then killed them, and there's just a pile of bodies buried in Silicon Valley where they had their fun. If you found that out tomorrow, would you stop using these smartphones?
I'd probably stop using their smartphones.
Okay. Omid?
Yeah.
That's a loaded question.
I mean, like, fine, deload it for me. What? Just answer it in any fashion you choose to. Or ask me a question back to
Let me see how I can. So you're saying that, for example, the person who runs the company that made this Android here, they raped and killed children.
So the person responsible for that device in your hand, yes, whoever that may be, you found out what they did.
So if my device is still the same price as an iPhone, I might, change sides. But if I somehow manage to get a really, really, really good deal on this superior product, it's really hard to say. Really hard to say. I might still just use an Android if it's like way, way, way cheaper.
No.
Yeah.
My question was both products. Like I said, Steve Jobs and his competitors got together on weekends and did this act together. So it's basically the base for like every smartphone in existence. Or now it's tainted. That's what I'm saying.
So let me put it to you like this.
Yeah.
The fact that there are college campuses with people advocating for the movement of BDS, which is boycott, divest, and sanction, which is from Israel. So they want every company from Israel to suffocate, to take down the country of Israel. It's like a movement that's backed by like all these terrorist organizations, and now it's like on campuses. But basically, if they were to actually follow through with that plan, none of these people can use their cell phones and stuff because the Intel processor chip that's used to power these bad boys was developed in Israel. So the fact that all of those motherfuckers that are trying to get their schools to divest from Israel are still using smartphones, I think I can safely say without shame I'd probably still be using this bad boy because, again, I'm separating the talent from the morality, and as long as this product is the only one of its kind and it has become a staple of my lifestyle, as long as I'm not using it to rape babies and children, I think we're good to go.
Okay. If I can alter my answer, if
Okay.
Hold on.
All right.
Since you said that both sides, essentially every single provider of cell phones is caught in this, then I'd probably have to, only because, well, life revolves around these pieces of tech, including work-wise. You can't really escape it, especially for my line of work. I need to have a cell phone. I don't have an option for not having one. So I couldn't do that. If it was like, for instance, Google and Apple specifically, maybe I would be like, I go look for another phone company specifically, at least who makes the phone. I know that the service is provided by Google on every Android phone, but at least I won't buy a fucking Pixel. You know what I mean? But yeah, if it's every single provider, I mean, I can't not use their service because I need to have it for my life. It's just that's how it operates at this point.
Now you said you have to. That's not true. You choose to.
You'd be literally have to.
No, you'd be majorly inconvenienced if you if you stopped using smartphones altogether. But you could survive without one. It's not life support. It's not food or water. It's a phone.
Listen, considering the fact that I have to be GPS tracked and be able to document through photography and or videotaping certain things, I need to have, it would be very, 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 not even just inconvenient. It would be possibly even very difficult to pull off for me to have to timestamp my location and be able to, take that and then combine that with pictures or video footage and everything like that to provide any client that I have for what I'm doing. Cell phone definitely makes that plausible, and whether it's convenience or just, again, being able to do it, at this point, it's my only route. And I'm not even sure if I could go around not doing that by another route at this point. Like, I don't know. It's hard.
Get a TomTom. Get a GoPro. I don't know. There are probably different ways to go about this. Or just change your job entirely if it means that much you. But it doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't.
Thanks.
But it doesn't, is what I'm saying.
I like money, okay? I'm a Jew.
I know you like money and you like convenience. And so does everybody out there. Everybody who ever touts things, cancel culture and all. I want you to actually think about that question. And, hopefully it's not true with all the conspiracy theories out there. I don't think it is. But would I stop using this phone tomorrow? No, I couldn't sit here. I couldn't lie. I don't think it would change anything about my life if I found out what these were built on. What foundation was created these phones.
But then would it be different if you made a scenario where it was just kind of like, okay, well, I just have to stop using phones altogether. But what if the company that you have, like what you have an iPhone? What if you knew that the CEO and all the people that work at, not all the people, but like all the heads are all fucking kids and murdering them? Would you buy their competition or would you still use your iPhone?
No, I don't have an iPhone. I have an Android. I'm just saying, like, the
oh yeah, you do. Right,
okay,
right.
fine.
The
Flip
answer's
the
the
roles.
same. You can't go seek like the trick to the question is that everything that created smartphones, the foundation of smartphones, is now tainted. It's disgusting. Everything that these now represent were built on the backs of like dead kids. Like, you can't go seek the competition. You're finding a way out of the question. I'm just trying. The thought here is that like smartphones in general, like iPhone, Android, and there's probably some weird in between like companies that people don't really like or they're not they don't control the market.
I'm changing it up on you. I'm just asking now another question because I'm changing your question from all of them to just the one that you're using. Would you switch phones?
Okay. No. My answer's the same. I've had an iPhone and I've had an Android and I like Android. That's it.
There you go.
I compromise the morality instantly and without hesitation.
My response to you, simply enough, is sometimes there are certain tools in this world that you just need to have because it's not even convenience-wise, just because they need to be there for whatever purpose. And like I said, for me, work-wise, having a GPS that can combine my location with an internet connection to upload certain documents remotely, I need to have. I can't do it in other ways, or if I did, it would be an extremely complex, probably very expensive process to pull off, which, I mean, I don't even know if I can do it. That's what I'm saying. And it's the same thing with like saying if every gun maker in the world was the scenario, would I say that military should throw away their guns and fucking start using lightsabers? Lightsabers aren't available yet, so we're kind of stuck with guns. It's the means, it's the tool that's available to you readily that you can use, and in certain scenarios we need them. We don't have really much of a choice.
I'm still gonna harken back to what I said before. You don't need them. We're now, as a society where we've landed, yes, they are paramount to a lot of things we use. We're hooked onto these things, unfortunately. I'm just saying, like, the very same people who would come out and the same people who are tweeting at Kanye right now with those very phones, if they found out this news tomorrow, it would not stop any single one of them.
Probably not.
Yeah, I'm just trying to hold that mirror at society. That's all I'm doing here. All right, I'm just being.
No, I understand. I'm just saying that at least for this particular scenario that you're providing, it's just one of those things that it's really hard to not have it because of the if you want to call it convenience, but I say it's the need to have because of the um it's the setup. There's just it's really hard to replace it with something that can come close to the same prospect of what you're doing. And for me, with my job, I need it. I don't have much of a choice.
Okay, again, to your job though, you can, if it mattered to you, like the real question.
Bitch, I'm not giving up my job.
Okay, I'm saying, so if it mattered to you, if something like that, something disgusting like rape and murder, like you're trying to stop that and you want to boycott everything, if it mattered to you, dude, like I'm just saying, that's the line people are like not willing to cross. They would give up like everything they could do with their lives, like they give up this phone, whatever, and what that represents. Like now you like let's put you in that person's shoes, someone who's like a social justice warrior, or just someone with like very basic morals. Like, oh my God, rape and murder of children, bad. I don't want to contribute to that. So I'm going to stop buying this phone. I'm going to stop using smartphones in general. And since I have this job that I can't escape, like using this phone, this device, the technology, I'm also going to give that up. And then I'm going to go buy
Danny, why don't you build your own phone? Why don't you build your own phone?
You know, if it mattered to me, I'm just saying there's a way around it. I mean, I'm not saying like this isn't like a testament to like the ingenuity of the human race. I'm just saying like how much of this actually matters to people, like really actually matters, because it can easily just like cut down someone like Kanye West. Like it's easy to just stop listening to someone's music. By the way, it wouldn't matter to me.
Probably will.
Yeah, it's like who gives a shit? I'm saying if something actually affected you, like how many people out there would change their life because of something that was morally imbalanced or upsetting?
I mean, like I said, changing music. My dad grew up listening to Pink Floyd, even in the Soviet Union, where, you know, rock and roll and all that stuff was illegal. He loved Pink Floyd growing up. But then when the whole entire anti-Semitism thing popped up, he stopped listening to them entirely. He cut them out. He's like, I'm not going to contribute to that bullshit. I mean, people will do it if they want to. It just depends on how much of a grave thing it is to your heart.
All right. Anyway, I'm not going to keep beating a dead horse. I'm just like food for thought. But no, I listen to all the music. It's nothing. All my music taste has not changed, even with all the like the shit that goes on behind it. Music's good. Good music's always gonna be good music. Just it. The artists can always have a choice. You know what they can do with their lives outside of it. Just like any athlete has a choice to do what they want off the field. Doesn't stop them from being good at the sport. Doesn't stop an artist from making great music. And it won't. You know, it's only gonna hinder your experience. That's all.
I mean, no, I agree. Yeah. It's the same thing with like fucking R. Kelly. R. Kelly made a few really good songs that I appreciate and think that he's musically talented, but the guy's also a sick motherfucker in some ways. And, you know, I always found it interesting how certain like Spotify, they removed his tag or something on the platform. They didn't pull his songs, but they removed his tag so you couldn't find him. So if you looked him up, unless you look up the actual song, you couldn't find his music. If you looked him up, you wouldn't find anything, I guess. I think it's a little strange when like certain groups push their beliefs on others, specifically Spotify with that move. And I've also been I was at a birthday party one time and somebody put on the remix Ignition at the party to play, and some girl comes over and shuts it off and says, "We're not promoting rape culture at this party." And everybody's kind of looked at her. It's like, okay, I get it. Relax, but it's not your house, not your party. Like, be mindful.
Right. Well, that's unfortunate for her because nobody likes those people. Yeah.
Your
Cool.
connection's choppy again, by the way.
Cool. I bet it is. Probably everybody over at Twitter trying to shut me down for what I said. So anyway, yeah. This is a late one today. Are you guys feeling all right?
On a different note, I'm not sure. Did you guys read that article that said that? I'm pretty sure it's a joke, but they were talking about how Elon Musk, the reason why he wanted to buy Twitter in the first place was, I guess, to ban his ex-girlfriend from the platform.
Nope.
That's a power move.
Real article?
Yeah.
I read it like before we got on the podcast, and I was like, if this is actually true, that's extremely fucking petty. But I don't know how true it is. But I'll see if I can find and send you guys the article.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting. I'd be actually, I'd applaud him for doing that.
Her account got suspended. That's the funny part. After he purchased it, the account got suspended. But I don't know how, like, if the story is actually real or not.
It doesn't sound real.
See if I can find it.
So Elon Musk actually owns Twitter now, right? Like that purchase went through.
I
No,
I
I
thi-
don't think so.
I think no. So he said he is gonna buy it because he wants to avoid the legal trouble, but I'm not sure if he's bought it yet. I think they're still in the process of having him finalize everything.
Yeah, Christ, man, that was news from months ago. How hard
Yeah.
is it to buy a company for billions of dollars?
Well, the deal dropped a little while ago and it just came back.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah, because he refused to buy the company until Twitter discloses how many bots are on there or what percentage of the accounts are bots.
Mm.
And then there were some people that did the research as to why he was doing that, and it's just like how people are using bots to increase their pages engagement, and um, they were like, I'm just one person that did it for fun, and this is how easily I did it. Imagine if you had corporations that just had rooms of people doing this, like mass producing bots. So I think I have a little bit more of an understanding of why he wants to expose the bots, especially if they're the ones that control like what becomes popular news and what's not. Um, uh, I don't know. I think it's a pretty cool idea and it's very smart of him to do it. He's like what, gouging half his worth just to make the deal, so it must be something that's important to him or some like he just realizes that this is the next great big step for someone who's trying to be a mogul. It's I own a space company. I own like PayPal. I own like one of the most like fuel efficient cars as of now,
No
and
more
people
PayPal,
know
but yeah.
whatever. Like he still has his hands in a lot of things. Why not get his hands on one of the most prevalent media sources today?
Sure. If you have a bunch of money in no time, and a bunch of time, then sure, why not try to just intersect into every sector?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like if like was it Big Pharma and all these other like corrupt people are controlling mainstream media, if he can get his hands on one and he can, for the most part, control what is or isn't censored. It's I don't know. I kind of doubt that there's altruistic intentions behind it, but since he's marketing it as something that's altruistic, it's kind of like Google, where I know Google does a lot of cool things with my info and they make my life a lot easier, but I'm also still slightly skeptical, even though I'm constantly like putting in my social security number or whatever into Google Chrome. You don't know.
No. I don't think any company out there really does anything good with your information. We talked about this. You don't care. I think it's just ridiculous. Yeah, that episode's right here. So yeah, Vlad, have you found that for us?
No, I can't find. There's texts about his ex-girlfriend's account. There's articles about the ex-girlfriend's account being taken down. There's articles about her texting him to fight the wokeness at Twitter. There's all sorts of shit, but I can't find that one specifically. But the report is that her account's gone. So I'm not sure what that is.
Are you sure it wasn't an Onion article?
No, not Onion.
You definitely made the
It
mistake
sounded
of
like an
showing me
Onion
something.
article.
Yeah.
Yeah, this never happened. I even put in a very biased Google search to find this article, and the fact that I can't even do a biased search just shows that it's either you made up the idea or it's just a very obscure article that came out and you somehow came across it and made it more popular than it should have been.
Maybe. It was a Facebook article that pops up on here, so I was reading it over and I was like, huh. But the only reason why I thought it was real is because her account supposedly is gone and they're supporting it on the Google searches. But like I said, I'm not sure if it's a true story or not when I read it.
Very
Yeah.
All right. Well, since we have nothing left to talk about, and Vlad and I have to go do garbage.
Oh shit, it's
It's Monday. We gotta go do like garbage, or else the garbage men they'll kick us off their route or something like that. Probably not.
No, they won't.
No, they won't.
We don't take enough.
Dude, I read it in an article. They're gonna cancel our house on the route.
I read an article, if you don't put your bins out, they murder any stray cats that are in the area, so...
Oh yeah, we gotta do that right now.
That affects Danny right now.
Yeah, that affects me
Poor
directly.
Lord.
Now I actually care. I will give up. I will give up our trash.
Yeah.
Whatever
Go take care
whatever
of
it
that.
takes. Yeah. Okay. So, all that being said, this has been another fantastic episode of Does This Offend You? That is Vlad. That is Omid over there. I have been Danny. If you liked what we had to talk about today, or if you didn't, please let us know in the comments below. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to us here on YouTube or over on Spotify, or anywhere else you can find us. Please let us know how you feel about anything we do or say and how brilliant we are. Or wait 20 years and tell us how brilliant we are. Doesn't matter. Anyway, next week we are going to eat ass. So be prepared for that, guys. All right. Thanks, and see you soon.
Does